Hey, mama. If you've ever walked into a doctor's office in real pain and walked out feeling like you were being overly dramatic, this video is for you. If you've ever been told it's anxiety part of being a mom, just to lose weight, list can go on. I need you to keep watching because I spent years being dismissed, shuffled around, gaslit by the system that was never designed to see women like us. And I built something because of it. My name is Whisper Brightenborn, and this is how it all started. It was 2016. I was in my third trimester of my second pregnancy. I was working full time at that time, and I felt like I was running on fumes. I had a toddler at home, pregnant, huge as can be. It was rough. And being inconsistent with wearing my belly band, because honestly, I thought the pregnancy pants, the stretchy part that goes over your belly, I literally thought that was enough. And guess what? It's not enough. You should start wearing your belly band in your first trimester. And then you should also wear a postpartum belt a year long after you had your baby. My hips were screaming. So I went to my doctor. I went to the OB for help, for guidance or something. And what I got was a note from my chair that my work declined. They denied it, and a pat on my head telling me it was SPD and it would go away after birth. It did not go away after birth. It was not magical at all. Actually, 6 weeks postpartum, when you go back to your OB to make sure everything's good, it's healing up, I brought it to their attention and I was told to go to my PCM. So I kept going. I kept working postpartum and pain. I kept pushing through because that's what moms do, right? Your 6 weeks postpartum checkup, all they do is make sure that your uterus went back to size. And if you had an incision, making sure that is healed. And they also give you paperwork to fill out for postpartum depression. That was it. That's all you get really at 6 weeks postpartum. So I went to my PCM. And then my PCM set me off to my very first orthopedic doctor. And that's where my journey starts. My very first doctor touched me inappropriately. I was Now, mind you, it's the only doctor that ever told me to take my pants off through all 13 doctors. He's the only one. The nurse came in, was like, strip down, underwear as well, strip down, waist down. Here's a cute little pair of navy blue paper shorts. Sit on the exam table. It was just him and I in the exam room. He would rub his hand across my pelvic a little too low, a couple times. Started feeling, first time I was like, oh, that's a mistake. I don't think he meant that. And I went on a couple other times and I felt very uncomfortable. I think he noticed because I started wiggling like, let's not do that, sir. I wish I used my voice. I'm one that usually is vocal. I was silenced, very nervous on what was going on. So I left that doctor. And it took me almost a full year to go back and get help. A full year. I reached out to other orthopedics. At that time, or insurance, I did have to get another referral. And I explained to my doctor or my PCM what happened. So I started going doctor after doctor after doctor. And I felt like I was shuffled all over, telling my story over and over and over and over again. I was over telling my story because nobody was listening, I felt. Some stared at me like a deer in headlights. Others wanted to write me a prescription. I declined. Why'd you decline a prescription to make you feel better? Because we're masking. I'm not a mask. I don't want to mask my issue. I have little babies at home that need their mommy full time. We're not masking issues. We're finding the root cause of this issue. Lose weight. It's anxiety. It's part of being a mom. I can go on with what they told me. I can't tell you how many times I sat in the parking lots in tears because nobody was listening to me. They were looking at those scans and apparently didn't see anything on those scans, but they forgot to actually listen to their patient and their patient needs. But I was also saying it the wrong way too. And I didn't realize that till later on down the line, which I teach that as well. How to communicate with your doctor. Being in pain is real. My body was telling me something was wrong and nobody was listening. Eventually, I did. Years down the line, I found a doctor. It was right before, it was about 4 years after having my second born that I found a doctor that would listen to me. Ish. Listen to me, ish. He would relieve my pain, but I never understood. He would like pull on my leg, he would press on me, he would do all kinds of things like a chiropractor would, but never actually told me what was going on. Now, he was in sports medicine, never actually told me what was happening. I would get the X-rays, I would get the MRIs. He helped me through my entire pregnancy on my third baby. I never had a diagnosis. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have any clear answers on what was going on with my body, with my hip. But he did help me. And I was very grateful for that. At this time, I gave birth to my child, my youngest, my third baby. And he goes, "There's nothing else I can help you with. I'm going to refer you to another doctor." Now, this doctor was probably about 45 minutes away. I went to that doctor. I got an X-ray and I got an MRI. The doctor looked at me, said there was nothing wrong. Let's go try to get injections. I had two different kind of hip injections. They worked ish, but not to its full what we were hoping for. I only had about a couple minutes it feeling better, relief. And then after that, I was back to being in pain. So he was like, "Well, since it did give you a little relief, that means we can go ahead and have surgery because we know it's in your hip. But I don't know what's going on with you, so I'm going to have to go in blind." Recovery time is 6 months to a year. My husband's job is very demanding. I'm with my children by myself a lot, and they were babies. I had a newborn, I had a 4-year-old, 7-year-old at that time. He was about 6, 7 years old. But he could not tell me what was going wrong. So I backed out. I ran away. There's no way you're cutting into me without giving me solid, concrete answers of what was going on with my hip. So I stopped. I went back to the doctor that was giving me relief because at least I could have relief. At least I can go to the playground with my kids and then also go grocery shopping. I could go grocery shopping and have intimacy with my husband. It wasn't one or not. Understand? So I was getting relief. I knew I was not done fighting. I was just getting the relief I needed to get through my day, but I was not done. This was not my end of my story. This was not going to be the end of my book. Th- I knew more was going on with my hip, but nobody could tell me. In my head, after all my research, I kind of knew what was going on. And when I would bring it to the doctor's attention, they were like, "Well, we don't see it on your X-rays, on your imaging. We don't see it. We don't even see it on your MRI." And I did have countless X-rays that showed nothing. I've had 2 MRIs that showed nothing. Hang on, I'm getting to where I'm getting with this. So at this point, it was our time to leave this state and move to a different state. I found a doctor locally and he gave me an X-ray. Well, first I sat down and I laid out everything I have in my binder, all my notes, everything I had from all my doctors, laid it out on the exam. I was ready for him. I was not backing down. I came in spunky. I sure did because I was about done. So I did apologize to him. I'm like, "Hey, you're my 12th doctor. So this is what's going on with my hip and nobody can give me answers. Can you help me?" Here it is. He was very thankful I did keep all my notes and all my doctor's notes. So he examined all that. Went and got my X-ray done. He came in, he goes, "Hey, get over here. I want to show you something." I get up, I walk over to his monitor. He goes, "You see that right there?" "No, sir, I see nothing. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my pelvic." "Yeah." He goes, "That, I would put money on it that you have a pincer impingement." The heck is that? He goes, "Since you had the pincer impingement, I bet you have a labrum tear." Yeah, I could definitely tell you I had a labrum tear because I can hear it in my hip when I moved, no matter what position I sat in. I could feel it even when I walked. So I knew it. But here's the thing. He was confident and he guaranteed me I had this going on. The only problem is that he did surgery on older patients. So he was not comfortable enough to do surgery on somebody my age, and he knew I did not need a hip replacement. So he referred me to somebody that works with younger patients and did arthroscopic hip surgery. And he knew this doctor could probably do it blind. The only problem is this doctor was 4 hours away from me. I took that trip because if that doctor was that confident in my X-ray and confident in this doctor that he's referring me to, let's go. What's number 13 gonna do? Dismiss me? Okay, let's go to the next one. That was in my head. It was like so consistent on what was going on with these doctors that I was like, whatever, what's one more gonna tell me? A mystery? Because I've been told that. All the other excuses. I get to my 13th doctor, and again, bring up my notebook. And I set it down, and I was like, here's all my notes. Go get an X-ray. I'm like, all right, go lay down, get another X-ray, position my legs certain ways for them to see it. No problem. Been through this already. And he goes, yep, you have a pincer impingement. You are going to go for an MRI. My team's going to call you. Confident that I would need surgery. I go get an MRI. Now, mind you, this is like my third, fourth MRI I've had. Never have I had an MRI with contrast in it. Contrast. So when you go to these MRIs, request a contrast because you see so much. I never knew it. I got the results. Calls me. He's like, hey, I would really like you to come up and see the results. He knew where I lived. He knew I was 4 hours away from him. I was like, all right. I drove up. Showed me everything. I could not even believe. Actually, I could because I felt it. But it was worse than I thought. Worse than he thought what was going on with my hip. So he's like, confident, you're going to have surgery. I got scheduled for surgery the following week. I was like, whoa, hold on. What's the recovery time? He goes, I'll be walking out of my surgery. Within 3 days, I'll be without a brace. Within a week, I'll be without my walker. Excuse me, sir? He also told me I would be on a stationary bike the day I got a surgery. What world do we live in? Because this is not what I've been told ever. He was confident. He knew it. So I went home to my husband. I told him what was going on. He's like, if I felt comfortable, he feels comfortable. My husband and I drove up for surgery. And the doctor came out before surgery, sat on my bedside, and he talked to my husband. And he made my husband feel comfortable, confident that the surgery I was having was what I needed. And my husband looked at me and goes, let's do it. So we did it. I had surgery. I woke up wanting food. Now, mind you, I did started my period right before I got into surgery. I was so embarrassed. I woke up, I asked for food. The nurses were amazing. They dressed me, they fixed me, everything. I walked out of surgery. Literally took my walker. The nurse stood behind me and I walked to my husband's truck. We got into his truck and now don't get me wrong, my doctor drugged me up to get me 4 hours home. Got home. I got to walk inside. I sat down, I talked to my kids. It was my mom's birthday. So my husband stopped and got my mom a cake and a card and some flowers because they stayed with my kids so I can have this surgery. I got to spend birthday with my mom. I was, yes, in pain, but I knew this was it. Why did I know? Because after surgery, doctor came out and he told me and my husband exactly everything that happened to my hip. Everything that he had to do. I had a pincer impingement that needed to be shaved. I had a labrum tear. I had ridiculous amount of inflammation that he couldn't even believe I even walked in that day to get surgery done. He shaved the cartilage around my bone. He reshaped it. He did a lot. It was a lot. But I walked out of surgery pain-free. Within once the pain medicine started wearing off, I had less pain than I did walking into surgery. I don't know how to it was I'm still in disbelief that I'm pain-free because I went so long with pain. It was amazing. And my journey has nothing but been amazing. And I've learned so much along the way that it makes me so upset that after surgery, I learned even more about not just my hip, but I learned that I was hypermobile. So I'm very my joints are very flexible. My pelvic is tilted. And that's why I could not have my babies naturally, because my pelvic is tilted. Per se, that's what they told me. I've had this the entire time, which was ultimately making things worse. Nobody caught it, or if they did, they never told me. But it would have been nice to have at least my pelvic corrected, and that would have helped me years in pain. After surgery, I had to reteach myself how to walk, how to carry myself. Years of my life, years of pain, years of being told I was fine and it was all in my head, that I wasn't fine. I was just being unhurt. Through all of the tears and frustration, I learned so much about my pain, about the pelvic area, about the hips, but most importantly about myself. And the hardest thing I learned, and I literally mean the hardest thing I learned, and if you're a mom, you will connect with this, is how to stop and listen to your body. Because I had to spend so long pushing through the pain to just get through my day that the guilt was real, the pain is real, the isolation of feeling like nobody around me truly they nobody gets it. That's all real too. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you to have to go through 13 countless doctors, 7 years of being in pain. I still reflect back, and I had my surgery in 2023. I cannot believe to this day the things that I can do throughout my day. I am standing up for however long this video is for. Usually I would be like trying to adjust myself. Yes, I move around a lot, but I'm not in pain. It is still wild to me how I'm not in pain. Some say it was surgery. Yes, surgery did correct things that could have been prevented this entire time if somebody caught it. Okay. But it's my job to keep being pain free because I could re-tear. And I don't want that. I don't want to be in that pain anymore. My pelvic was misaligned, tilted. I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be in pain anymore ever again. So there are ways to prevent it. And that's what I share. That's what I teach. That's what I coach. I built the hip freedom method because I never want another mom to feel alone as I felt in those parking lots crying in tears, in those waiting rooms, the exam room, feeling alone, in those moments when your pain is so real and the world keeps telling you it's all in your head. It's part of being a mom. You have anxiety, lose weight. I don't want that. So if any part of my story is like yours, even one piece of it, I want you to know there is a seat at the table for you. Click the link below to join our community. We're going to figure this out together. I'm Whisper, the Hip Whisperer, and I'll see you on the inside.